Hi there. In this skill set training video, you are going to discover how to master the Google Content Network. Now, if you're not familiar with what the Google Content Network is, it's actually within your Google AdWords account. So if you don't have a Google AdWords account, simply go to www.adwords.com and you can set up your free account from there. And I've created another skill set video on how to set up a Google AdWords account if you haven't done so already. Go back and watch that skill set video and it will get you caught up to speed. So, once you have your AdWords account set up and you log in, the first thing you see here is this big blue button that says Create Your First Campaign. You do not want to create your first campaign using this button. The reason for that is because if you do click Create Your First Campaign, you are going to be taken through the path Google wants you to go down by advertising on their search network. Now, if you remember earlier, I mentioned that there's two routes. You can advertise on their search network or you can advertise on their content network. Well, you want to do their content network. Now let me show you why. If you go to google.com and let's say you were to type in debt relief, you'll see the items up here in the yellow that says sponsored links and the items down here on the right. This is the results that you're going to get from their search network, and this is where your ads would be showing up on. The best way to look at Google Search Network is like a catalog. When someone is looking for something online, if they're looking to buy something or they know what they're looking for, they're going to Google and typing it in and they're looking at results. So you're trying to get your ads showing up high in their results. Now, you can make a lot of money, don't get me wrong, doing this, but there's far more money to be made in not going this route and actually going in their content network. Now, to show you what their content network is like, there's a website out there called Debt Consolidation Care, and I just randomly grabbed this website and I just wanted to show you that on someone's website, if they choose to be in the content network, they can display a block of ads on their website and display ads from Google AdWords. This is where you want to be because you're actually going to have your ads show up on people's websites, not on the search engine itself. So why would you want to do this? Why is there more money to be made? Simple, because not very many people understand how to master having ads on websites like this. And as you can see, if someone is reading about what you can expect from filling up the sign-up form, if you're reading about is debt consolidation good, if you look at these ads, they're like ads you would see in a phone book. They're very boring, and this is what usually you're going to find on ads in the content network. Well, you can make a lot of money if you know how to create the right ads to show up on these display blocks. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go back to my Google AdWords account, and if you can follow along with me here, instead of creating your first campaign on this big blue button, there's a couple steps you have to take, and this is like taking the back door into making just a serious amount of money from Google. You want to click on Campaign Summary at the top, and then over here on the right where you see New Online Campaign, you want to click on that, and this is awful that they make it so hard to find, but I mean it's good because not a lot of people find it, which means more money for you to make. And you can see where it says Start with Placements. You want to click on that, and then it's going to take you to where you can create your first campaign, but this is going to be a campaign in placement targeting. Now, if you don't know what placement targeting is, that's just a fancy word of saying you're going to advertise on other people's websites, plain and simple. So once you scroll down here, you'll see the first item is to target customers by language. For this example, I'm going to choose English, and I always recommend you just use English because there's far more websites out there that can be pulled that are English-based websites than many others. Now, target customers by location, it really depends on what it is that you're wanting to promote. If you're just wanting to promote somebody else's product out there, you pretty much need to take a look at their product to see if they accept traffic from all over the place. For example, if you want to promote Maverick Moneymakers, you can actually promote Maverick Moneymakers in multiple countries, pretty much any country in the world. So you could choose Change Targeting. And with Maverick Moneymakers, by the way, if you do choose to promote that as an affiliate, you're going to make $44 per sale every single month. So I'm going to use that as an example in this in just a moment. And you're going to choose Browse because you just want to choose locations. Then you just want to pick the countries that simply have, that are English speaking. So like let's say Australia, say Austria, and some of these others you could probably choose, like United Kingdom. You can see it does this really cool spy stuff, it looks like, where it drops little pins on the countries. I just think it's kind of cool. I'm more of like a nerd though. And you hit done and it just says, okay, currently targeting 5 locations. So then you hit continue, and then you're going to be taken to where you create your ad. Now this is where it's all going to come to more sense in a few minutes, but with going into content, the Google Content Network, and choosing websites you're going to advertise on, imagine picking like just a topic that there's websites out there, like let's say stay-at-home moms, right? There's probably a lot of websites out there that are online communities, and even like MySpace and any of those kind of places. There's probably a lot of stay-at-home moms that are just on the internet browsing around, like online gaming sites like Pogo.com and stuff like that. So let's say we want to advertise, let's say Maverick Moneymakers on websites where there's a lot of stay-at-home moms, because they're probably looking to make some extra money. Now, if you remember, when I went back to this website for debt consolidation, you saw the ads are very catalog looking. They look like they're out of a phone book. That doesn't really jump out and grab somebody. When someone's on a website reading through text, you need to jump out, and it's almost like advertising in like a magazine. You have to jump out and really, really get their attention. So, if we know we're going to advertise on stay-at-home mom sites, you could start with your headline like, Mom goes from broke, and instead of saying like Maverick Moneymakers up here in the title, you kind of want to tell a story. So you could say like, Mom goes broke, or goes from broke to rich in just 2 hours a day, doing what she loves the most. All right, so that's pretty cool, because if you have this ad on stay-at-home mom sites and they're reading around on forums or whatever, and they see this, like, wow, this is a pretty cool story. Mom goes from broke to rich in just 2 hours a day, doing what she loves the most. I mean, that's probably going to jump out, and they could put themselves in those shoes. You're painting them a picture like, well, if she can do it, I can probably do it too. So now, once you have a couple lines put together, it's important to know you always want to capitalize the first letter of each word, and it just really makes your ad pop a little bit more, and it's easier to read. Next is your display URL. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because you don't want to put, like, let's say if you're going to advertise Maverick Moneymakers, the coaching club, and you have a ClickBank hop link, you don't want to put in your hop link here, because it's going to look nasty. I mean, it'll look something like, let's say netnerd.maverick66.clickbank.hop, .net or whatever it is. I mean, that's ugly looking. So what you want to do is actually come up with a really good .com that you can set up domain forwarding on. And I explained this in another skill set video on how to use domain forwarding. But let's just say you go over to a place like GoDaddy.com and you want to come up with a really cool domain that's going to complement your ad. Well, if you have a little story like Mom goes from broke to rich, you want to come up with something where your domain is going to match that. So, something that you could do is like broke-to-rich, broke to rich mom story. And the reason why you should use dashes, I never recommend using dashes any time other than using these Google AdWords ads, because if you look, when I put that in here, it's easy to read. It breaks up the words, and it kind of breaks up the words just enough space like there is in the words above. So it's easy to read. Mom goes from broke, and if they just skip that and read to the bottom, it says broke-to-rich-momstory.com. They're like, oh, that's kind of cool, because they're on a site reading about forums anyway, so they're reading stories already. And when they click on this, they're going to be taken to, guess what? They can be taken to Maverick Moneymakers, which is a story, and you just let Maverick Moneymakers website do its job, which it does convert really well. So that's all there is to that. Now, to set up a domain, I mean, you obviously have to put in the domain and hit go to see if it's available first. So let's do that. And here we go. It's available. So this is something you could do. You could actually get this domain, broke-to-rich-momstory.com, and then set up domain forwarding to where when someone goes to this, it goes right to Maverick Moneymakers. Now just to show you, if you didn't use the dashes, look how nasty this is going to look. Broke to richmomstory.com. Look up here in the ad itself. That is ugly. So you can see why you definitely want to put dashes. And even if you capitalize the first letter of each word, that's still ugly, isn't it? So if you just go ahead and put the dashes in, it's much easier to read, and it's just a tested technique that I've learned over the years of doing this that works really well. And then the destination URL, this is obviously with Google's terms of service now, the destination URL has to match your display URL. They used to not have to do that. So you definitely want to have the destination